Otakuology Podcast with Otaku Mike and Jin Graves.
Hey guys, Jin here with the Otakuology Podcast, where we like to talk about a lot of nerdy things. So, on our roster today, we're going to talk about, I would say it's an old classic movie, at least for me, probably for Mike, Jingle All the Way. And, as always, Mike, my co-host.
My name's Otaku Mike, best YouTuber around, / podcaster, and we're talking about Jingle All the Way today. Oh, should I do? We are talking about Jingle All the Way.
Yeah,
it's not a turbo man.
Goodness gracious!
Nobody likes you, Booster.
Right? What's the evil guy's name in this?
Dr. Dementor, I think it is.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So I have a question before we start.
Okay.
So when you told me about the movie, is this the first time you've seen this movie?
No.
Okay, because it seemed like it was the first time you actually saw this movie.
No, I've seen this movie like repeatedly.
Okay, because I was like, what? How's he fucking not seen Jingle All the Way?
No, I will say I haven't watched it recently in my adult life to really think about it.
Uh-huh.
But we'll get into that later because there are some things that
there's some things that I saw in this movie and I'm like
right, and I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Until I rewatched this, and then I was like, what the fuck?
We get into this, and there's a specific scene where they make a reference to something, and I'm like, oh. That was in a kid's movie. I don't know what reference you're thinking of that I'm thinking of. Are you thinking of the same one?
Probably not, because mine's like a reoccurring thing that happens.
Okay.
So,
okay.
But, yeah. So anyway, this movie has Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
Yeah.
And he is trying to...
And his co-star, Sinbad.
That's true.
You can't forget Sinbad, who was a comic / actor in the 90s. I have to say, we need more Sinbad movies because he was fucking phenomenal in this movie.
Right. Well,
I forgot how good he was.
Well, here's the funny thing. One of my brothers was joking about this when I was bringing up that we were going to cover this movie.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know, what the hell? Because I guess one of my other friends hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
And my brother goes, well, you know, that was back in the day when where it was easy racism, you know, that we could get away with it and everything. Do you remember when Shaq was a genie? And I was like, why is that racist? I'm so confused.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but that was a terrible movie, and we will never cover that movie on the podcast.
Never say never.
No, we are never covering Kazam on the podcast.
I love that movie.
It's a fucking terrible movie. Shaq has never been in a good movie whatsoever.
Kazam.
No, it's not a good movie.
Hey, you know what, though? He has been in some pretty good pizza commercials, so...
Okay, that might be true.
And the General, okay?
But, wasn't he with Papa John's?
Yeah.
Papa John is a racist. Just saying.
Well, you let the cat out of the bag for them now. Everybody's going to start being...
I think it's like publicly known that he was a racist or he got doxxed or something. And he got kicked out of his company, I think it was.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you want me to read the plot synopsis? You just want to go into this movie?
Yeah, if you want to read the plot synopsis real quick.
See if I could find it.
I'm just going to say up front, though, sorry, guys. I'm a little sick. That's why I probably sound a little weird. But
All right. So Jingle All the Way stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad, two rival fathers, workaholic Howard, and postal worker Myron, both desperately trying to purchase a Turbo Man action figure for their respective sons on the last minute shopping spree on Christmas Eve. That's basically our synopsis.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this movie doesn't have very much to it.
No, but it's fun and I like it.
Yeah. Well, in thinking about it, because when I started watching this, the beginning kind of reminded me of a different movie. And then I had to sit there and realize, like, almost every Christmas movie from the 90s, the dad is always a workaholic. Because the Santa Claus is the same way. I mean, there's just a bunch of other ones. It's either that or it's a big-ass family and somebody gets left behind somewhere.
That wasn't Home Alone.
Well, yeah, but there's more of them that are like that. Like, And so I just was cracking up about that. I was like, man, like...
Well, the 90s were a different time, I will tell you that.
That's true.
And this movie being in 1996, this was like at the height of the 90s. To say the least, and there were a lot of 90s references in this movie.
Right, which I loved.
Yeah. All right, you want to take us off into the first part of this movie?
Yeah. So we start out kind of like the movie Pan, where...
Pan?
Yeah. Because, Pan's the same way, too.
Like Peter Pan?
Yeah.
We're talking about, like, Hook.
Yeah, Hook.
I was going to say, no.
But, basically in all these movies, the dad promises that I'll be at some kind of event, most likely a sporting event.
Yeah, he's going to get his karate class, I think it is.
Right. And the dad, for whatever reason, misses it. And from all their speeding or whatever, still make it like an hour late, which throws me off. So.
Can I just say, there's this part in here early on where his wife is talking to him, Liz is talking to him. Yeah. He picks him up. He's like, "Oh, you're my number one customer. I'm not going to be late." Even his assistant's like, "Oh, having the folders and going, you got 20 minutes. Come on, you're going to be late." He's like, "Okay, I got this. Right. And there's this where you see Liz talking to Howard, who is Arnold Schwarzenegger, on the phone, and in the background you can see through a window it's daytime.
Right.
When we leave the office where Howard's working, I think it's like a furniture place. I think it is.
Yeah.
Or he like supplies mattresses or furniture for.
Yeah, it's something like that.
For like hotels or something. I don't really know what he does. But he in the I don't know if it's like a snafu or like a continuity error, but it's morning when he's talking to her on her side, but on his side it's nighttime.
Right.
So I was like, oh, that's weird.
Right.
But I like this scene where he gets stuck in traffic, and I'm like, oh, we've all been there. We've all been there, stuck in traffic.
Right.
And he goes to. I've seen this in person. taking the side lane, the shoulder to try to skip all the traffic.
Right. And
he gets stopped by a police officer who gives him a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if this is another continuity error, but in the scene where Jamie, his son, who is played by the actor who played Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
The young Anakin Skywalker. I think this was his first acting role, maybe. And I think this might have been how he got the role of Anakin. Was George Lucas? I think it's George Lucas saw him in this, and he was like, "Oh, I like this kid."
Yeah,
he's not bad in this movie. But in the thing there, he has like a yellow belt, and then he goes to purple, and I was like, I don't remember that being like he jumped up so high. Like I think the belt positions were different. It was weird.
I don't think there is a purple.
There is a purple belt. Yeah, it's higher up than it's like white, yellow, orange, green,
I
blue.
I
I
don't
think
know because
purple.
mine doesn't have, like, whenever I was doing that, mine didn't have a purple belt. So that was
Oh,
always something.
mine did. So,
That was always
but
something. We
we
had a
get.
brown belt. Maybe that was the
I
difference.
mean,
Brown and purple.
brown is before black. I think. Anyways, that's beside the point. Beside the point. He gets his belts.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for our karate episode.
He breaks his fake board and gets his belts.
Right.
But there's this scene that I want to talk about where we have Liz who is taking pictures in the stands with their next door neighbor. Is it Ted? I think
Mm-hmm.
it's Ted. And Ted is played by the late great damn it, Phil Hartman. I was blanking on his name. Phil Hartman, who is phenomenal in this movie. He is recently divorced, single dad, and boy, oh boy,
He's not recently divorced. He's been
is,
divorced for like over a year.
yeah, okay, something like that.
Yeah.
He's newly divorced for like a year. You know, boy, oh boy, the women in this movie are fucking thirsty for Phil Hartman.
Right.
Oh my fucking god. And I think he fucking knows it, but he kind of plays it off in this movie.
So I think he does know it.
Yeah.
I actually don't think he plays it off.
I think he was playing it off when he was with Liz.
I think beside Liz, almost every other woman that is,
he's fucking him.
I think he has. I think he has.
Like he's fucking him. Yeah.
I think he has.
Yeah.
I think he slept with basically all of them because
one of them was like, "Oh, I baked you some cookies for fixing my blah blah blah," and then the other one was like, "Oh, my porch light's not working. Can you come fix it?" He's like, "Sure, I have the perfect tool for the job."
Right. I actually think that probably him getting a divorce was a green light for him to be a man whore.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably slept with every other woman in the neighborhood except for Liz.
I kind of want to know why he got divorced. Was it because he was a man whore?
This is true.
You know?
So I don't know. But that's the only thing. Like, I really feel like he just hasn't slept with Liz yet because like some of the stuff he told her, is like, this sounds like you're being fake and you're just trying to get in her pants.
Well, I mean, yeah, totally. But like like the faces like she was making, she was like, "Oh my god!" Like I feel like that's happened before because they seem like friends because their kids are friends in the movie, and Phil kind of, or Ted, like kind of goes around with her a lot in this movie.
Yeah,
you know.
But that's my other saying on that is I think that that's why he's around her so much. It's like he engulfs himself in that where when things happen, because then the other thing he kept doing through the whole movie is anything whenever Howard would fuck up in a way, he would sit there and actually point it out to her every time.
Yeah, and he would we'll get to that. There's a part in this movie I want to get to.
Yeah, and then we get kind of that last scene, and you're like, "Oh my god!" Everything kind of clicks together.
Yeah, but so Howard gets there late, obviously.
So that was what I was going to talk about, though. Was Phil or Ted basically going around like I never thought about it before. But yeah, I mean, I think he slept with like the whole neighborhood. Yeah. That was the thing that really stuck out to me this time watching it. I was like,
I mean, he's obviously an overachiever.
I don't remember this. Like,
he's like totally an overachiever when it comes to his child. He's trying to buy his child's love.
Well, see, that's the other thing. I think he's trying to buy his child's love, and I think that he actually presents himself in that way to sleep with these women.
Yeah.
Anyways, because there's that one part where he's talking to Howard on the phone,
Well,
And,
I want to get to that part later. When we get to that part, yeah. I want to talk about that when we get to that part later because that part's funny. But anyways, enough with the TED talk. But Howard gets there late and he comes home. His wife Liz is like, he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I missed the karate tournament." Oh, I think that was that a pretty good Arnold Schwarzenegger voice? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
No, it's probably not as good as Weeb Daddy, but
right.
Right.
You know what's going to happen.
What?
He's probably sitting there sneezing right now because you're talking about him, and he's going to listen. He's going to listen to this episode, and he's going to send you a big text message to be like, "You screwed up, son. You screwed up."
I know. He does like the best Arnold voice, but Jamie is sitting there watching the TV, and he's like, "Oh, Turbo Man's cool. I like Turbo Man. I love Turbo Man." His dad shows up. He gets mad. He goes to his room, and his dad follows, or he's already in his room. I can't remember.
He follows him to his room.
Okay, yeah. Can we talk about his room?
Yes.
So for a fan of Turbo Man, he sure doesn't have a lot of Turbo Man stuff in his room. It's all Marvel stuff.
Right.
Man, I would have fucking killed to have a mural of Captain America on my wall as a kid. I think that was a George Perez like Captain America drawing right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets he's giving his dad the cold shoulder, right?
Right.
And he's giving his dad the cold shoulder. And he's like, "Come on, Jamie, come on. Tell me what you want for Christmas.
What can I do to make it up for you?
What can I do to make it up for you?" He's like, "I want the Turbo Man doll."
Right. Well, and then he starts naming off like all the special features. He flies. He's got action-packed punches. He's got his
turbo ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, and they have a bonding moment.
That was a little nostalgic too, because I remember like family members for me that wanted something like that, and would start listing it off. It's got action-packed punches, removable fists.
It's got the karate chop, the kung fu grip.
Yeah, or like even now, like for a little while, like I went with my brother and one of my other friends, and we would do Marvel Legends.
Yeah,
and they would be like, "It's fully articulated," and I was like, "Yeah, it is
like 60 points of articulation." Yeah. No, totally.
That's when you feel like the real nerds, like with the tape holding their glasses together or whatever. And
man, I was such a sidetrack. I was such a Marvel Legends nerd. Yeah. I had so many Marvel Legends, and I ended up selling them off recently.
Yeah.
I only kept 3. I kept Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Shadowcat. Those were the only ones I kept. Because those like meant something to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of regret selling my Marvel Legends stuff, but it was just sitting in a bin, like a tub. Yeah. Anyways. Regrets we have on the podcasts. So he goes back to
stay tuned for our action figure talk.
Oh god. So he has spends time with Jamie. He's drawing, goofing around, talking about Turbo Man. We don't really see this part, but he goes down. He's getting ready for bed, and he's talking to Liz, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get him the Turbo Man doll." She's like, "Oh, you're gonna get him the Turbo Man doll? I told you that like weeks ago." And he's like, "No, I got it. Okay, I got the Turbo Man." And he's like, "Well, you're not gonna probably be able to find it. It's like the It toy,
Right."
And I don't know if you remember this, but I remember this vividly, like the It toys from the 90s, and how parents would be so rabid about getting toys or specific toys. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Like the Tickle Me Elmos, the Furbies. In the 80s, it was the Cabbage Patch Kids. And like just seeing like footage of people beating the shit out of each other for an item,
Right.
which still happens today.
This is true.
I feel like it was a little bit more hardcore in the 90s, but that's just me, in my opinions.
I mean, this is true, and then you kind of see stuff like where the shelves are always like fully empty.
Yeah. As a parent, though, I can fully relate to this movie now.
Right.
Like trying to get my kid that specific thing they want,
I'll catch a charge for my kid.
and not being able to fucking find that item is the hardest thing ever. I've had to do that several times with my kid.
Did you ever have to do the backwater trade or whatever? Be like,
yeah, the hey, I got you a Turbo Man.
Hey, I got this in the trunk.
Yeah,
$500. What?
But yeah, so Howard goes out the next day, correct?
Yeah, she asks him. Liz asks Howard what he's gonna do, and Howard says, "Oh, I gotta go pick up the thing." And she goes, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
the
doll.
Which you know, the other thing is the movie. As long as the movie is, it seems like there's more than one day that passes in this. But
no,
it
is just one day. It is Christmas Eve.
Right.
Yeah, on Christmas. The movie takes place on Christmas Eve, except for the very beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just the day before Christmas Eve. So
yeah. So Howard goes out into. I think they're in Minnesota. I think that's where they are.
Probably.
And he goes to the toy place, tries to get to the front of the line. They won't open the door. It's freezing cold outside, which is funny because they filmed this in the summer in Minnesota.
Right.
But it's snowing.
Right.
He said it's freezing cold. I've never been to Minnesota, so I can't say whether or not it is actually cold in the summer. But
who knows?
We finally meet our other main character for this movie. I like to think he's probably one of the best characters in the movie. We meet Myron, the mailman, played by Sinbad. What did you think of Myron when you first saw him? His introduction, his
Honestly,
monologue he had to pump out.
I thought Myron was gonna be pretty cool, like starting out. Like when I was younger, like I knew it was coming at this point, but rewatching everything, you know, I was like, oh man, yeah, sounds like a nice guy. Oh yeah, wait, hold on, he's gonna stab you in the back.
Well, I mean, he is a nice guy. He has good intentions throughout the movie, but you know, when push comes to pull,
right,
and you want to get that thing for your kid, you might stab a couple people in the back.
That's true.
Yeah, so we meet Myron. They kind of become buddy a little bit at the beginning. You know, he's like, back up. You know, the man just trying to get himself a toy, you know.
Right.
But in this part, Myron calls Turbo Man a fruity turbo toy.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you just call Turbo Man gay? Is this a gay reference? Did you just call him a gay slur? He's fruity?
Yeah. Could be.
Maybe. But this scene, when they open that door, oh my God. All the people trying to cram into that one little store, running around. Storming the castle, as you might say.
Which, you know what this really reminded me of was the scene in Jumanji when they're in the store.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it reminded me of was
like the animals?
Yeah. Well, after the animals have run through town and now everybody's like pillaging the convenience store.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminded me of because I was like, man, people are running in here to get shit.
People still pillage the toy sections nowadays. Now it's just scalpers.
Yeah.
Trying to make a quick buck.
Right.
But I love this scene where they're all just fighting for first place to get to these Turbo Mans.
Right. And that's one of the other things that I think is really good in this movie because of all the little different knickknacks or whatever.
Yes.
And it kind of shows you the entire extent of how to get screwed over by stores on Christmas as well.
Yeah.
Because they go to like 12 different places.
I think they go to like 2 or 3 in this. I think they go to 2 stores in this movie. I think. I can't remember.
I don't know.
I know at least they go to 2 at least. But we get the scene where he's like, "Excuse me, do you have the Turbo Man doll?" And he's like, "Turbo Man? This guy wants a Turbo Man. Do we have any Turbo Mans?" And
then he grabs his coworker.
Yeah, you can you can clearly see that there's a Turbo Man in the background of this shot.
Yeah.
And people are holding Turbo Mans.
Right.
So I'm like, there's plenty of Turbo Mans to go around, but he's like, you can have Booster.
Wait, are you sure that they're Turbo Mans or are they Booster?
No, they're Turbo Mans in the background. They're in the back. They're behind like Arnold.
Okay, maybe I didn't pay that close attention, but I just remember seeing Boosters and the Dr. Devastator or whatever his name is.
Yeah. The Dr. Dementor or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no luck. They try to chase down this woman who bought the last Turbo Man. And excuse me. This is where we get our first encounter with Arnold and Sinbad, or Howard and Myron. They try to stab each other in the back just to try to get to the Turbo Man with no avail. Myron pushes Howard into a bunch of toys, and then Howard trips Myron with a car.
Right. Which
like
I want to bring that up.
Okay.
That kid was driving the car, and it was like behind 3 shelves. How the hell did he know to turn it around and make it come back to trip the guy up?
Well, can I just say, how much mail has Myron lost in this?
Oh my god!
Situation, because all these letters go everywhere. He's carrying around his mail with him in his like satchel,
right?
You know.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, I was like, why does he even have that if he's not delivering mail?
That's true. He's not bad.
Like, it's stupid.
He's a bad mailman. I think it's kind of for maybe like comedic effect, maybe.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, like the impact of falling or whatever.
I mean, unless he just said like, "Fuck the post office today" or something.
Probably. But I mean, we don't see Myron for good chunks of this movie, so he's probably delivering his mail. I don't know. Who knows?
I have no idea.
But so they leave and they find. Is this where they find out that there is another? There's a shipment of Turbo Mans.
There's going to be a raffle.
Yes. Do you want to take this part?
Yeah. So this part is actually in the mall.
Yeah. It's the Mall of America, I think.
Right. They go into the store and they're like, "Oh, we have you're going to get these little balls, and whoever has like different kinds of numbers on it or whatever will get it." Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they pre-tell them what it is.
I think so, and they double the price for the Turbo Mans.
Right.
Because supply and demand, which I don't think stores can legally do.
No, I think they charged for the raffle.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what they were trying to charge for.
Okay.
And then you paid for the Turbo Man too. But the stupid thing is this guy's up on a stage and he's telling people about it.
He's got a little what are those things called with the microphone attached to it?
Yeah.
It's like a kid's toy and a recorder or something.
Yeah. I can't remember.
I had one as a kid. I can't remember.
Yeah, but he's got this thing and he's saying that, and I think he says for everybody that randomly gets a yellow ball, will get an option of getting a Turbo Man, basically. And I'm just sitting there like, the hell? And then you just kind of get this, like, everybody's standing there on the floor, and when they hear him go, yellow ball, they all storm the castle
Yeah, and all the balls go
into the thing.
flying.
Yes.
All the
And
balls go flying.
I couldn't tell if these were all like bouncy balls, because it seemed like they all did that, but then at the same point they look like gumballs.
I think they were all bouncy balls.
Okay.
But as they're trying to get these balls in this crowd that are fighting for this, biting, hitting, punching, whatever, to get these balls, Myron gets a ball. And Howard's like, he's got 2 balls. He's got 2 balls.
Yeah.
And they're like, get his balls.
Right.
But in this scene where Howard goes to get one of Myron's balls because it shoots out of his hand. As he's going to get it, Myron gets tackled and they're starting to like get the balls. And this is the reference that I want to talk about.
Okay.
He starts saying Rodney King, Rodney King. Do you know what Rodney King reference is?
A little bit.
So that was the police officers beating the black man.
Yeah.
We got a Rodney King reference in a children's movie.
Right.
And I was like, oh no. Oh no.
What movie did I put myself through?
Actually, I still laughed, even though I knew the reference. Does that make me a bad person?
Yes.
Oh,
bad person. I can't believe you.
But yeah, we get this scene where Howard is trying to chase the ball. The ball falls down. This little girl gets the ball, and she starts going through this jungle gym play area. And there's a scene where you see Howard. He's death staring this girl down while going down the elevator.
Yeah.
But you can clearly see that Arnold Schwarzenegger in this shot is in 2 different places.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
I don't think I noticed it when he was coming down the elevator.
he's in the elevator and he's on the ground at the same time.
No, I think I just noticed the elevator part.
Okay, yeah. So he's traveling through this, trying to get this ball. Just got to say, watching Arnold Schwarzenegger try to fit through a jungle gym is fucking hysterical.
I was thinking about that too, because then he was like trying to calculate how to get through there too, and I was like, oh no. Which, I mean, this is another part right here. So he finally gets through the maze of the jungle gym from this little girl going through, getting to the slide and everything, and then she slides down into a ball pit.
Yeah.
And I love the whole part where he's like, he picks up one of the balls in the ball pit and he goes, I have a nice shiny red ball for you.
Yeah, and then she like puts it in his mouth. He's like, give me the ball. And
the bouncy ball.
The bouncy ball. And she puts the bouncy ball in her mouth and she tries to get away. And this is where the as they're called in the credits, the angry moms.
Yeah.
The angry moms start whacking Howard with their purses, calling him a pervert.
Right.
I was like, oh, I didn't catch
I
this
was
before.
like, yeah, and I was like, wait, why wasn't, like, do you just say the words and let the person go? Like,
yeah, they start hitting him and like hitting him with them, and like he gets away,
Yeah.
But they don't continue after him.
Right. That was another thing that I was confused on. I was like, don't you usually like chase after those people?
Calling him like a pervert, like a sexual predator, right. But well, they're not. Maybe they were just like trying to get him away, and I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird, but
yeah.
Then as he's walking through the mall, he walks over and he's talking about it. I forget who he's talking to.
He's talking to himself.
Okay, and then
he meets Jim Belushi, who is playing Santa Claus, the mall Santa.
Right, and the elf.
And the elf, I don't remember what his name is.
Which is funny because they're like, hey, if my shift's over in about an hour, if you give me a ride back to my warehouse, I have some stuff for you in regards for your Turbo Man problem.
Yeah, like he's talking to him. He's like, they're throwing out all these different sayings. Like, we don't just Santa doesn't just drop off presents in the broad daylight, and
Right.
they show him like a Polaroid picture of the elf standing next to a newspaper holding Turbo Man.
Right.
He's like, it's today's date, and he's
Right.
like, okay, we'll do this,
Yeah.
So he gives two complete strangers a ride to the warehouse to get this Turbo Man.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Which the first thing that should have been known is there's a guard at the front gate dressed as Santa Claus with a German Shepherd.
And the German Shepherd has reindeer antlers on. Come on.
Yeah, he does.
I think there's like a fire pit next to him too, or like a barrel of fire. I think.
Yeah, I think there's one because they have them kind of a little ways down.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that almost all the Santas are virtually like homeless guys,
Yeah. Well, in this movie, they are probably.
Right. Yeah.
Or they're probably they're con men or whatever.
Right.
And sorry, guys, we had some technical dog difficulties as always.
Right.
Anyways,
you mean we had some technical reindeer difficulties?
Oh, sorry, reindeer difficulties. So they get to the warehouse. Howard, Santa, and the elf get to the warehouse, and I like it how the knock on the door is Jingle Bells. He knocks on the door. He's like, does the jingle bell, and then they're like password. And he's like, Jingle Bell, Batman smells.
Right.
No,
I love that part too. I was like, what?
That part made me laugh. But so they go in, and there's a whole factory going on of toys and Santa and
Mrs. Claus and elves.
Mrs. Claus they have a whole toy racket going around, and they're bootleg toys.
Right.
And so we see the scene, and all these elves and the Santas are around, and he's like, okay, give me the Turbo Man. And he it's all wrapped up for him. He gives him the money, and he I think he accidentally pushes the box, and the box starts talking.
No, he starts opening the package because he wants to make sure that he got what he ordered.
Yeah,
and they try and go, no. Don't open it yet. That's just for Christmas Day.
It's the international Turbo Man or something like that, they said.
Yeah,
and
so
Turbo
he speaks in Spanish.
He's speaking Spanish, and Turbo Man falls apart. Which is funny. And he's like, basically calls Santa a con man, and we have this crazy Santa Claus Howard fight where all the different Santas are coming up and trying to fight Howard. And did you notice who two of the Santas were?
Yeah. One of the Santas is Mini-Me from Austin Powers.
Yeah, Mini-Me. Yeah. And then the other one is the Big Show.
Oh, was that the big guy?
Yeah, that was Big Show, yeah.
I did not know that because I always thought Big Show was a lot chunkier than that.
That was when he was like first started wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can clearly tell it's the Big Show if you notice it.
I just think it's funny. So they start fighting, and then he punches him, and he goes, "Little buddy."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh no, little buddy." But the place gets raided. After this epic...
Which, can we point out something else weird here real quick?
All right.
Who knew that there was an Asian Santa that also knew Kung Fu?
But the thing is, he wasn't Asian. He was white.
Exactly. I was like, that's just something random to know in the middle of this group.
His nunchucks were candy canes.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he knows Kung Fu. Oh, wait, he's not Asian. He's white.
Right, which I do like this next part right here where like you said, the police come in and they storm that and
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh
or
no, it's the
whatever.
Grinch." They call him the Grinch.
Yeah, and so, but we have Howard, and he leans over, and he's sitting
Yeah.
there, and he finds one of the fake police badges toys.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Yeah.
turns around, and he kind of does the little wave, like he shows
Yeah,
it
he
real
does it.
quick, and then he walks out, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, he's like, "Do you know how long I've been working undercover on this operation? It's 3 years. 3 years." He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He's like, "Go arrest somebody." And you see him walk out. And is this where
Yeah,
he's kind of downtrodden or like sad that he didn't get the Turbo Man? Is this where he goes to the diner after this?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He goes to the diner, and then he sees Sinbad again,
Yeah, and they have a bonding moment where
right?
they
And
talk
they're
about Sinbad. Howard talks about how last year he built the clubhouse for Jamie, and he thought it was the best thing ever. And just the look on his face, he was so happy and proud of him. Sinbad. They start to have a bonding moment where they get some coffee, put a little alcohol in the coffee,
right,
and Sinbad starts talking about how all he wanted was this particular type of gun. It was a toy gun, and his dad didn't get him the toy gun.
right,
And he talks about one of his neighbors. He's like, "Do you know who so and so is?" He's like, "Yeah." He thinks that was my neighbor. He got one of those guns, and he became a CEO of a company. I didn't
right,
get one of those guns. I'm a loser mailman.
right.
And he's like, "Oh no," And he's like all he want, like they both have like valid reasons. Like they both want to do good for their child. They're obviously workaholics as well. They work all the time.
I
Mailmans
mean,
don't.
I think it's kind of here and there because I do think
Yeah,
that with this, you do get a valid reason, like you just want to do it for your child, you want them to be happy, which was Howard's.
yeah,
And then on the other side, I think that one is a little more invalid because it goes more off of the popularity thing of it. Like he
true.
thinks that his kid's not gonna go anywhere in life if he doesn't have this toy,
Yeah,
you know. But I
but he
gotta
still
say
wants to make
though,
his child happy.
I like this diner guy though,
Yeah,
because he is always so lax through the whole thing. The radio comes
uh
on
huh,
in the diner,
yeah,
and clearly we can hear that there is a radio station that if you can call and name off all 8 of the reindeer
yeah,
that pull Santa's sleigh, then they will sit there and give you a Turbo Man action figure.
yeah,
And so they're fighting again to try and get to the phone booth that's inside of the cafe or whatever.
mm-hmm,
And one of them rips the phone off as they're fighting.
mm-hmm.
And the guy, the restaurant owner or whatever, is just sitting there like, doesn't say anything about it. And then goes,
Yeah,
"Well, y'all
doesn't
do
say
know that
anything.
the station's like 2 or 3 blocks away."
Yeah, and like they just like destroyed his phone, his payphone. It
Which that
like
made me think: is this a like usual occurrence for him?
oh yeah. But I like the part where he like they're fighting for the phone, and like it's a phone booth, so you close the door, and Sinbad gets closed out of it except for his hand, and he's trying to grab like Howard or whatever the phone, and we don't see phone booths nowadays, uh, but he opens the door, and Arnold like hits him with the receiver of the phone.
So I just thought about that. We
What?
only see phone booths in 2 things:
What?
the Maroon 5 song "Payphone."
Oh god.
It's in the music video, and the movie Payphone.
I mean, there are probably still payphones around.
Well,
They're just
honestly,
very
thinking about it,
rare.
I really like seeing that is kind of a little bit of nostalgia too. But I really think like I was sitting there thinking about it whenever we got to that part, and I
Uh huh.
was like, I wonder if like other kids would watch this like that are younger than you and I, and be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, I know what that is," or are they just sitting back like, "What the fuck is that thing?"
Well, I mean, you don't see, they're very, very rare, or they're like, you have like remnants of payphones, or
Right,
like the outside of the payphone's still there, but the payphone itself isn't there anymore. You
right,
sometimes, it's very rare to see a payphone.
right.
That's like showing kids on how to use like a rotary, a landline phone, or you
Yeah,
pick it up in a rotary phone or whatever, whatever,
yeah, that too.
yeah.
Right.
It's an very outdated technology, um, which we know about, but uh,
It's still fun to use.
it's still fun to use.
Yeah,
Have you seen the one where it's like, I saw it recently? It was the little toy telephone with that has like the eyes. Have you seen
yeah.
those?
The ones
It has
on
like the
with the
wheels.
wheels.
Well,
Yeah.
you can get one now where it plugs into your smartphone and you can use
Oh
it.
my god. Oh my god.
I saw it yesterday and I was like, I kind of want one. I kind of
Oh my
want one.
god.
Uh,
So I watched the Boss Baby movie, the newer one,
yeah,
Boss Baby Family Affair or whatever it is,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they had one of those in that, and I was like,
Yeah.
who's gonna
Anyways,
get that reference nowadays?
I think they still make those toys.
They do, but
Uh,
that's the weird thing. Like nobody's gonna know that.
yeah. But so they're fighting for this. They're running to get to the station, and as they're running, Howard is constantly reciting the reindeer, all the different reindeer,
Right, right,
and I like this part where you see him. Howard's clearly like running. He has a good pace. And you see Sinbad. He's like, and he gets slower and slower, and he starts throwing mail out of his bag
right,
to lighten the load. And he starts throwing mail at Howard himself.
right.
But I love whole next couple of scenes where they get to the radio station. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. I know the reindeer. And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. He's like, I won the Turbo Man. Didn't I? And then Myron gets there right after him. And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You didn't listen to the whole thing. You can eventually receive a Turbo Man. We have a voucher for a Turbo Man. And they start to get upset and whatnot. And they're obviously going to try to take the voucher by force, I'm guessing. Is what it seemed like.
Yeah, because I still think that there's one there.
Yeah. And we get this scene where Sinbad pulls out a package. And this is a bomb. This is a bomb. The guy calls like 911. The DJ calls 911. And they have like a little scuffle, and it turns out to be a music box. And I think Sinbad steals the certificate and like takes off. I think, or the police get there and they take off.
Yeah,
That's what it is. And we have this scene where they're all surrounded by cops, and he does this thing again, or he's like, I have a bomb. This is a bomb. And they're like, oh my god. He's like, put all your guns down. And he puts the bomb down, goes into the elevator, and they both leave. They both leave different directions. And I like this scene. This scene always makes me laugh.
yeah.
Where they're both running away from the building, different directions. The bomb goes off. It was a bomb in the package. And you see Sinbad's reaction. He's like, what? I was carrying around a bomb this whole time? People are sick. This is a sick, sick world.
Right.
That scene always gets me. I always laugh all the time at that part. Oh, man.
Right.
That was funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I just think it's funny, the confidence of the police officer, which I think the police officer is actually one of the characters that makes this movie.
He shows up several times. We totally forgot
Because
about the part where Howard ran over his motorcycle.
yeah,
Yeah, we totally forgot about that part. We glossed over that part at the towards the beginning. But he's a constantly recurring character in this.
right, and things just continuously happen. I mean,
Like
it's just
he like spills coffee on him at one point, burns his hands.
right. But how the whole exchange happened starts out is he was the cop that actually pulled Howard over.
Yes.
When he was in the side lane, and so
Yeah.
it's funny seeing him as a reoccurring character all the way until the end of this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
So,
So after this, after they get away from the cops, Howard obviously does not have a Turbo Man. He
right.
goes back to his car, and his car has been stripped all the way down. He has no wheels, no doors, no seats.
Right.
It has just been stripped and put on blocks, basically. And we get Howard going home, and we see the scene where his car gets dropped off by the tow man. Ted he sees Ted putting up the star in.
Oh, which we did forget that part too.
Okay, what part?
We forgot the part where he actually calls and they're baking cookies and Ted answers the phone.
Yes. We did forget that part, yeah.
So that happens earlier, and he calls and Ted answers the phone and is basically like, I feel to an extent like dogging on him a little bit.
Oh, most definitely.
But this is the part too that we had to go back and bring up because of what I was saying earlier. So outwardly, it looks like Ted is all about his kid and whatnot. He got the reindeer, he did some other stuff. And I kind of feel like half of that is a facade.
Yeah.
Because some stuff just seems like it could be like a lie. The whole, I've been watching this area of deer or whatever for like the past 5 years. And
I forgot about that part. Yeah.
And so whenever I go to re-release this deer or whatever, or this reindeer, I'm going to release him there. They should be accepting of him.
Yeah. We totally forgot about the part where Howard calls Jamie on the phone, and like Jamie like yells at him and stuff because he needs to talk to Liz, and Jamie's upset with Howard not being there, whatever. But yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying, like with the whole cookie situation, and he's like, no, don't eat my cookies.
Well, yeah. Well, no, but the other part is with that is what I'm saying about Ted basically not being who he appears to be is because, he sits there and accidentally burns himself on one of the cookie pans or whatever while he's talking to him, and he hangs up on Howard.
Yeah.
And then the kids are in the other room wrestling, and you hear Ted's like really vicious about, shut up, kids, like.
Yeah, he's like, shut up!
Yeah, so, that's what makes me really think that he's putting on a facade.
Yeah.
And that there's more there than what we actually know.
So, yeah. I know I totally get that, what you're saying. I actually agree with that. But, he's putting on the star, and Howard looks like he's going to go confront him, getting mad. He remembers that Ted bought a Turbo Man at his house, and it's under a tree for his kid.
Right.
And you see Liz, and Liz is like, oh, no, don't do that. Don't put that star up there. That's Howard's thing. Don't do it. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. There's, blah, 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 and
right. And this is another thing in the Ted conundrum.
Yeah.
That I feel like Ted knows because he is friends with Liz somewhat.
Yeah. And
that he knows, and he's trying to test the waters to see what he can get away with. She let him in the house.
He puts lights in the house earlier.
Yeah. He puts lights on the house. That's okay, because that is something that we're told is a Howard thing.
Yeah.
He does it anyway, but Liz doesn't really say anything, at least from what we know.
Yeah.
He's in the house. He's baking with her. He's doing all this. And then I feel like this is one of those spots that really gears off to the end of the movie for us is when he goes to try and put the star on the tree, and she tells him to take it off because it's Howard's thing. I feel like it was a little hit to his ego, Ted's ego, knowing, oh, hey, Liz isn't fully under my control of what I want to basically, get her where he's going to turn around and just like sleep with her or whatever.
Yeah. No, totally.
But that also brings up another question. Where's all the other women's like husbands? Because we never see them, or are they all divorced, at this point?
Or all divorced or working,
Right.
I mean, who knows? We only see a couple of them.
And what the hell does Ted do to go around and schmooze with all these ladies and whatnot?
Yeah, that's so weird. So Howard, he's going to go steal this Turbo Man.
Yeah.
He becomes the Grinch and tries to steal the Turbo Man. When he's opening the door, he's opening it with a credit card.
Yeah.
He goes to like the back door of Ted's place, and if you notice, the door is already unlocked.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's unlocked. He goes in, gets Turbo Man. He leaves, and he's like, oh, no, I can't do this. I can't steal a toy from a child. So he goes to return the toy, and this is where he meets Ted the reindeer. We forgot to mention that the reindeer is called Ted.
Oh my god, I forgot that.
And the reindeer goes after Ted, or the reindeer goes after Howard.
Right.
And why is the reindeer in Ted's house? Did he just
I have no idea. Because I thought it was outside.
Did Howard just leave the door open? Possibly.
Maybe.
And so we get this scene where he's getting chased and attacked around the house by the reindeer. He accidentally runs into the three wise men, I think it is. One of their heads goes into the fireplace, catches on fire, catches the rug on fire, and Howard kicks it out of a window into a group of carolers. And then they see Howard, and Howard punches the reindeer in the face and knocks him out.
Right.
Which, oh my god, watching the scene, I couldn't tell if the reindeer was like CGI or like a puppet.
Yeah.
At some points, it looked a little CG animated in some scenes. But Liz gets mad because Howard almost burnt down Ted's house. Ted is upset because his stuff is all messed up, kind of. Like, it's not like too badly burned, but like the rug got burned, basically.
Right. Well, and I mean, not only that, but that's another part in this I feel like we see with Ted as well, that Ted's willing to let that go. I think it's because he knows that now he'll get this opportunity with Liz that he's been working towards.
Yeah. And so, what was I going to say? And so Liz and Ted go off to the parade that they're supposed to go to, and talking to Howard is disheveled, like not just disheveled, but he's upset. He's drinking next to Jamie's playhouse, his clubhouse, with the reindeer.
Right.
And they're drinking, putting back a 6-pack,
right. Which they should have had some eggnog.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the point. I mean, the reindeer is fucking drunk as shit.
Right.
He is fucking gobbling that shit up. And he kind of starts thinking and looking at these pictures that Jamie's drawn, and he's going to go make it to the parade. Regardless, he's going to try to make it to the parade.
Mm-hmm.
And we get there, and we see this scene where they're all at the parade. The kids get out of the car, and Liz and Ted Liz and Ted are going to park the car.
Yeah, because one of the boys asked if they can get out and get them a spot.
Yeah, because like they see a friend of theirs or something like that.
Yeah.
Howard gets there at the right moment to see Ted try to put the old Ted moves on his wife.
Right.
And we get this scene where he's like, this very, very awkward scene between Ted and Liz. And
Right.
Liz is like not going for this whatsoever. Did you notice that they don't have a rear view mirror in their vehicle?
Yeah.
You did notice that? Okay.
Yeah. Because it's like,
there's no rear view mirror.
Right.
Yeah. And so he kind of starts putting on the moves and trying to like hug her, and y'all need a shoulder to cry on. He pulls her in forward, and he's like, "Here, have some eggnog. It'll cheer you up." And doesn't she like punch him in the face?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because he almost seems like at this part, this is the big part that I feel like really sells the whole full thing that we've been trying to push with Ted, is that basically like Ted is that guy that's like buddy and invites the girl out to a drink and then like drugs her to date rape her. I mean,
do you think he drugged the eggnog?
Either that or he was trying to like lighten her up on being drunk, where she would be like, okay,
Yeah. And so Ted gets eggnog all over him. Howard's going to go confront them because he sees them.
And his glasses are fucked up.
Oh, his glasses are fucked up, yeah. Because she like hits him and like the eggnog goes everywhere or whatever, She gets out of the car, goes with the kids. Ted's like no longer seen throughout this movie except for one part.
Right.
Of this movie.
Right.
And we get the scene where Howard's going to confront them, and he runs into the police officer from before.
Right.
And this is where he spills the coffee on him. And he's running, he's trying to get away from this police officer, trying to hide in the parade, and on the outskirts of the parade. He goes through this door. And he ends up in, I don't really know where it is. It's like a warehouse of some kind.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
It's just a warehouse to store some of the floats.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, you're the guy. You're the replacement. And this guy shows up. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're the replacement." He's like, "What? Howard's like, "I'm the replacement. What are you talking about, replacement?" And we see them like forcibly putting all this stuff onto Howard. And he's like, the guy is like, "Okay, we called you earlier. We made some improvements to the suits, because we had your replacement for, I think his name's like Pete. I think his name was. And Pete had a horrible accident with the suit during rehearsal. But he was like, oh, good news though. The doctor said Pete had some minor brain functions today."
Right.
And I'm like, what happened to Pete?
Right.
What the hell happened to Pete? Like, come on now. So Howard gets put into the Turbo Man suit. And I guess they were under the float, or the float was in the warehouse.
Yeah, the float was in the warehouse.
It was hard to say. And he doesn't know he's in the suit until when we see all the other different characters go by. We see, like, who do we see in this? I know the Tick is in it at one point. Do you remember all the people that we see?
Oh, for the floats?
Yeah.
Well, like the Tick, and I think Charlie Brown is in it.
I know Matilda's in it, or Madeline's in it. I think one of the Rugrats is in it.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of them.
Ninja Turtles are in it at one point. A bunch of different characters from the 90s.
Right.
And they're talking about this. The announcers are talking about the Turbo Man's coming, and like Howard gets lifted up through the top of this float. He's like, "Oh my god! Like I'm Turbo Man! Like oh my god! Like what the hell's going on?" You see Booster there, the Turbo Man's pet tiger is what they call him,
Right.
and oh, excuse me. He's got to pick a kid for the Turbo Man doll. And he picks Jamie. He's like, "You, Jamie." And he's like, "Turbo Man knows my name?"
Holy crap.
What?
Right.
And we see, as this is going on, Dr. Dementor is, or whatever his name is up on this building. And Sinbad, or Myron,
Knocks him out.
basically chokes him out with some garland and hog ties him and takes his costume.
Yeah.
And to get the Turbo Man doll. And, you know, we have this epic fight. I would like to call it a fight. It's pretty cool. But there's one thing I like to talk about.
Yeah.
So as Myron gets onto the float and they're going to get the Turbo Man doll, try to get the Turbo Man doll, Myron uses like a rocket punch.
Yeah.
For his attack, and his like fist comes off and shoots and then comes back to him, you know?
Right.
How does that work? Because that's supposed to actually be his hand out of the costume. You know?
Yeah.
Because he shoots it out and then he like does like a neener with that same hand.
Right.
I don't know. I was like, oh, how does what? Because these suits are like state of the art. It seemed like.
Right. Well, I mean, we have that, and we have where basically, like, Turbo Man's jetpack lets him like fly insanely fast and everything.
But he also has the turbo discs and the turbo ring.
Yeah.
Situation going on, you know?
Right.
So, like, how much money was fucking spent on this fucking thing, you know?
Hey, I mean, obviously enough to put Pete in the hospital and to have a couple brainwave functions at one point.
I think he's fucking brain dead, probably.
Probably.
We get this scene where Jamie is trying to get away from Myron, and the demon team shows up to attack Howard, aka Turbo Man.
Which can we talk about that real quick?
Okay.
So the demon team are basically the fucking Power Rangers, right?
They're like the Power Rangers, but bad guys.
Right? I was sitting there like, how could you do this?
I thought it was funny.
Yeah. I thought it was just really weird that you have this guy and then you have his underlings, but they're the Power Rangers, basically.
Because when you look at it, you kind of think about it. We didn't talk about the very beginning where we actually see the Turbo Man TV show. But it kind of mirrors the ending of this episode, this show, this movie.
That's true. Yeah.
Myron's trying to get this Turbo Man doll from Jamie. It gets put in Jamie's backpack, you know, and Jamie takes off, kicks Myron in the balls. I felt so bad for Sinbad at that point. But tries to run away. Myron takes after him. He goes up onto his building on a fire escape, tries to get on a Christmas tree. Howard's like, what the hell is going on? Because he's being attacked by these bootleg Power Rangers.
Right.
And he's like, use your jetpack. And I'm like, what? He's going to use a jetpack. Okay. And you see him, we get this scene where Howard does not know how to use the jetpack. Which could you like physically actually fly a jetpack? Like in the real world? You know?
I mean, not with what he's got.
But he's flying all around this downtown area. At one point, I think he gets a concussion. Because he like goes head first into a brick wall at one point.
Yeah.
But he's flying around, blah, 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 you know. trying to get away. The tree display that Myron and Jamie are on like snaps and falls over. And he's like, "Oh, Turbo Man, help, Turbo Man." He's like, "Use your turbo ring." And he like goes to throw it, and he's like, "Ha ha, you missed," Myron says. But he doesn't miss because it comes back and hits him. And then he flies up, gets his kid with the jetpack, comes back down. And he's like, "Oh, Mom, Turbo Man saved me,"
Right.
Do you want to take this last part? With them. What do you think of the ending?
So we have where, well, Howard is standing there, and he is sitting there, and he says something because Jamie says something along the lines of, "Oh, well, my dad wasn't here to see me, and I don't think he's like proud of me," or something else like that, which we get this good part, like on the little kid side of it. Like, now we understand too that that Jamie also feels like he's not up to his dad's standard because he's not around all the time.
I mean, he just wanted to spend time with his dad. That's all he really wanted.
Right. And we kind of get that underlying, Christmas isn't about toys or whatever, it's about spending time with family.
Yeah.
But we have this whole part here, and Turbo Man, quote unquote, says, "Oh, well, I'm fairly certain your dad would be really proud of you, Jamie. He would be super proud of you. I don't know why he wouldn't be." And Jamie just goes, "Well, Turbo Man, how do you know that? Like, why is that?" And he goes, "I'll show you," or something, I guess.
Yeah,
I can't remember part of that. But yeah, he takes off his helmet, and he realizes that Howard is Turbo Man.
Yeah. Can I just say, how did they not know it was Howard?
Okay, so
the only thing that's blocking his face is the visor.
I don't know on that part.
Okay.
But the other thing is, supposedly he had a voice changer on too, but every time he talked, I was like, it sounds like Arnold.
It sounds like Arnold, kind of like a robot Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I also was confused on. Because I was like,
because the visor that covers his like eyes and kind of a little bit of his nose, it's see-through, like it's translucent, and you could still you could tell clearly it's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
Did we just have to disbelieve it? Just go with it.
Maybe it's because how far away it was, and maybe he just didn't. Jamie didn't fully realize it when he came to get the toy.
You're saying Jamie's stupid?
No. I'm just saying he was probably in nostalgia mode from
maybe
getting the toy from his hero.
Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, you don't know your dad's Santa Claus.
This is true.
Kind of, But I like this last scene where, like, I don't think Sinbad or Myron should have technically been arrested. I mean, Howard should have been arrested too for all the shit that he went through. But
yeah,
I like this last scene where Jamie's like, wait,
I mean, I think they're probably arresting Sinbad though, because there was the bomb threat and it did go off. Like, it was an actual bomb.
Oh, true. Maybe. Who knows? He gives him the toy. The Turbo Man. Jamie gives the Turbo Man to Myron, and he's like, "Oh, thanks. This means a lot. My kid's gonna have a good Christmas. Like, thanks. You didn't have to do that, but I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's a very heartwarming ending,
right?
To say the least. And it ends, and they have a Merry Christmas. Did you see the thing at the very, very end?
Which part?
At the very, very end of the credits.
I don't think so, but this is another part I wanted to point out about the
Okay.
ending of the movie.
Okay.
So if you listen to it, they have a scene, I guess, where there's some producers or something that are walking by. And if you're listening real closely, they actually offer Howard a job for, I guess, either being a superhero on another show or to play Turbo Man.
Oh, really? I didn't see that part.
And I was like sitting there like, okay, so he's going to have this job and he's going to sell mattresses. Okay.
Yeah, but at the very end, I've never seen this part before. At the very, very end of the credits, you have a Marvel moment where Howard finally gets to put the star on the tree. And they're like, talking and whatnot. And Liz says to Howard, it's so amazing, like what you went through just to, make Jamie happy, this and that, you really love him and whatnot. And she's like, well, what did you go through to get me something for Christmas? And it he has like the shocked look on his face, and like it cuts off. He didn't get her a present for Christmas. That's the ending. The ending. Yeah. I had never seen that before. I just happened to be
I don't think I've seen that either.
Yeah, it's at the very, very end of the credits. I had never seen that before. All the times I've watched this movie, I've never let the credits roll by.
Right.
But yeah. What'd you think of this movie?
I mean, it's still pretty good.
It holds up. It holds up fairly well.
I would agree.
I think it's a little better when
As
you're older.
Probably.
As an adult.
Because then you get all the little extra things.
I mean, there's even a scene later on in where the float where Sinbad or Myron is basically flipping everybody off.
Right.
I caught that this time through the watch time. There's a lot of adult jokes in this. I think it's funnier when you're an adult. You can catch all those jokes.
Right.
It's a decent film. I still enjoy it. I get a little bit. There's a little bit of nostalgia there. I actually bought this movie for my kids last year, and they love this movie. My daughter loves this movie. She thinks it's the funniest movie ever. She loves this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun. I do wish we would get more of Sinbad in the movie. That's my only real complaint. Because there are big portions of this movie where Sinbad's not in this movie. And Sinbad is fucking hilarious in this movie.
Right.
He is funny. But yeah, I recommend it. I think it's fun. I think it's fun for the family to watch. It's one of the better Christmas movies I've seen.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a little bit of a hidden gem as well, because I don't think a lot of people actually know about it per se.
I think if you're my age or say in your late 20s, you probably know about this. Or if you're older, you probably took your kids to see this movie when it came out. I don't know if a lot of younger kids know about this movie. Did you know this movie got a sequel?
No.
This movie got a sequel with Larry the Cable Guy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus.
I'm going to have to look at that.
Do we need to cover the sequel?
Oh my god.
I don't think it's probably as well made as this movie.
Maybe we'll have to cover the sequel next year.
Okay. Next year we'll cover Jingle All the Way 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I like this movie. I think it's fun. I put it up there in my top Christmas movies.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a fun movie, and it's fun to think about, like what would you actually do to go through with for your child during Christmas,
Right. Well, and I mean, just the 90s nostalgia too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think
Because kids these days don't know about the 90s,
that's true.
just to say the least,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, I totally recommend this movie. It was so much fun to rewatch. Uh, I think I watch it at least probably once a year.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I remember taping this movie off of the TV on VHS to watch it. I remember
Right.
going to
Well,
I
I
remember
remember.
going to I remember going to the movies to see this movie.
I don't remember that, but
My
I
my dad
remember.
my dad took me to see this movie.
I remember this being one of those shows that was always on like the 25 days of Christmas or whatever.
Because as a
And
child, I tried to watch every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie I could get my hands on. Because I was a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know about his movies nowadays, but I mean, he's had some misses.
he doesn't really have
But
movies nowadays because he had to get out of the game for a few years. Okay.
yeah, he had the really crappy movies, but this one's really good.
Well, he had
We
to
should
get out of
cover.
the game too. Remember, because he became the governor.
Oh, and he also fucked his maid, so there was that. He had a love child with her.
Oh
You didn't know about that?
no, surprise!
He had an affair with his maid and
Oh,
had a love child.
oh,
Yeah.
well, I
Weird,
guess that's
huh?
cool. Maybe,
No,
maybe.
he messed up his family.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
What about Jamie?
yeah, what
Who
about
knew he was
Jamie?
going to ted it up?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is pretty good in this as a comedy. I think it's funny.
Right.
Like it's silly, corny, you know, slapstick humor. Got some adult jokes thrown in there. Uh, I think it work. I think the movie works well.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth a watch. We should watch Kindergarten Cop next. Have you seen that movie?
No.
It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie
We'll,
where he goes
we'll
undercover.
look at it. You know, we got a lot of stuff to cover before the end
He
of the
goes
month. So,
undercover as a kindergarten teacher.
yeah.
It's funny.
Goodness.
It's funny.
So we're gonna watch the movie with Vin Diesel, the pacifier, and the other one with Jackie Chan, and we got a
Mm,
lot of stuff to cover.
I mean, the pacifier is not terrible, but it's not as good as Kindergarten Cop.
So, well, there's that other one with Jackie Chan too. I just can't remember what that one's called.
Yeah, I don't remember what that
But
one is called either. But yeah. What'd you think of it?
oh yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
Like I said, it holds up. I do agree with you on the fact I feel like it's a lot better as an adult than a kid because like the some of the stuff that were the adult jokes when I watched it, even as a teenager, I don't feel like I fully understood until I watched it now
yeah,
and knowing basically like Ted's a creeper and
yeah,
you know some other stuff like that, but you
yeah.
know, and
No.
I don't think too as a kid. I feel like you and I probably understand this better now, especially after having kids. What a dad would go through to spend time with their kids versus um, when we were kids watching it, because we're like, oh, you know, if dad's not there, it's not like that big of a deal. We want to spend time with them, but we understand, you know. And I think
Uh,
that's another
yeah.
thing that it comes out to is as a parent, you know how much more valuable that time is versus as a kid. So
Oh yeah. I mean, most definitely, because my dad was a lot like Howard in the sense that he worked a lot.
yeah,
I mean, my dad was also a police officer, so
right,
you know they work a lot anyways. So
right.
you know,
Well, I mean, and
my
it
boat.
just makes me think
Yeah,
the same thing. Like you know, my dad was in the Air Force and worked most nights. So,
yeah. Yeah, no,
but
my dad did that too with extra jobs and stuff.
yeah, there you go. Who knew that this was going to open up into a little bit of a Otaku Unwind episode?
Oh God. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching or listening. If you want to comment on this, you can do so on our YouTube channel at Otakuology Podcast. Just type in Otakuology, you can find us on YouTube. Reach out to us on Instagram. You know, if you listen on the podcast, rate and review the podcast, stuff like
Right.
that. You know, because we
Stay
do have
tuned.
a YouTube channel.
Stay tuned for more.
Did you know we just hit 43 subscribers on our YouTube channel?
I did.
Okay, I didn't know if you knew
I
that
did.
or
And
not.
then that other Spotify thing you sent me where we hit 111 listeners or whatever.
It was like over something like that. I don't remember what it was.
Or what? Yeah.
But yeah,
But,
thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
But for sure, let us know what you think about it, and let us know what your favorite Christmas movies are. Maybe we can cover them next year.
Oh yeah, what Christmas movies should we cover next year?
Right, especially
Let us know,
because we're coming up to the end of the year for our podcast. That is also the end of the year, and we should have a brand new outlook on what we're going to do for next year.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So maybe instead of just 1 or 2 Christmas movies, we can cover like 3 or 4.
Maybe, yeah, we'll make a whole month out of it.
Right? 25 days.
Oh no, fuck that. Oh fuck that. No. I'm not fucking doing that.
But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks. Bye.